Very. In fact, it's a very common word in English. Have you ever noticed how often do you use the word very in your everyday English conversations? In this English lesson series, I will teach you 50 words to use instead of very. This is a 5-part lesson series and you are watching the first part in this series. Let's get started. Very boring. You can say, it's dull. It's dull. The party I attended last evening was quite dull. Quite dull. Next up, very noisy. Very noisy. It's deafening. You could say, it's deafening. The pronunciation is deafening. Deafening. One more time. Deafening. Could you turn down the volume? It's deafening. Deafening. 3. Very funny. You can instead say hilarious. Hilarious. Do you think it's hilarious? I'm into a big mess. Hilarious. 4. Very strong. You could say forceful. Forceful. A forceful storm is making its way into the area and will likely destroy everything that comes in its way. That's forceful. 5. Very small. Very small. How can we replace this very common word? Could you say petite? The pronunciation is petite. Petite. $1 million for this petite house? That's way too much in comparison to the market trend. Petite. 6. Very weak. We can replace it with frail. That's frail. His frail hands could hardly hold a cup. Frail. 7. Very stupid. Someone who acts like an idiot, you can call them idiotic. Idiotic. It was idiotic of you to leave the safe open. Luckily, we haven't lost anything. Idiotic. Number 8 on the list is very confused. Instead of saying very confused, you can use the word perplexed. I use it quite often when I'm confused. You could start using it too. Perplexed. Perplexed. I was totally perplexed after reading those different reports. The numbers didn't match. Next up is number 9. Very afraid. When you are afraid, you could say, I am fearful. Fearful. Parents these days are fearful about their children's screen time. I'm sure as a parent you must be worried and fearful about how much time your kid spends on the phone and tablets. 10. The next one is quite commonly used. Very often. Very often. You can replace it with frequently. Something that happens regularly happens frequently. I frequently visit my parents on weekends. Very boring. You can say, it's dull. Very noisy. It's deafening. Very funny. Hilarious. Very strong. Forceful. Very small. Petite. Very weak. Frail. Very stupid. Idiotic. very confused, perplexed, very afraid. I am fearful, very often, frequently. Hello and welcome back to the part 2 of this 5-lesson series, where you will learn how to avoid using very and replace it with more advanced English words to speak English fluently and confidently. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you don't miss new English lessons. Excited to learn? Let's get started. Number 1 on the list is very quick. You could say rapid, rapid, rapid. The stress is on the first part of the word, rapid. You can't make rapid decisions when it comes to making investments. Of course, with investments, you can't be rapid. After all, it's money at stake. So, that was rapid. Next up at number 2, very perfect. I'm sure we all say this all the time. You could instead say flawless, flawless. Something that's without any imperfection or fault is flawless, flawless, flawless. The room service at the hotel is flawless. It's relatively rapid. At number 3, we have very shy. You can say timid. The pronunciation is timid, timid. One more time. Timid. Excellent. She's timid and lacks confidence while meeting new people. That's timid. Number 4, very thirsty. You can say, I am parched. Parched. The pronunciation is parched. It's a one-syllable word, parched. You don't pronounce ed at the end of the word. You say a soft T sound. Say it with me. Parched. Parched. After an hour-long run in the park, I was totally parched and exhausted. Next up, we have very hurt. How can you replace this basic English word? You can say, I was battered. Battered. When you are significantly hurt, you are battered. That's battered. For example, her angry words battered his feelings deeply. Battered. Number 6. Very open. You could replace it with transparent. That's transparent. I was hoping you could consider my suggestions with a transparent mind. I am sure we would reach an agreement soon. Transparent. Up next is very powerful. You could instead say compelling. The pronunciation is compelling. Compelling. One more time. Compelling. Something that has a strong reason to believe is compelling. An argument or a movie can be compelling. I found the whole movie compelling. I don't mind watching it again. 8. Very shiny. We can replace it with gleaming. That's gleaming, gleaming. It's simple. Anything that's smooth and shiny is gleaming. It's a better word to use instead of very shiny. The car was gleaming after a wax polish. It seemed as if it was new. At number 9, we have very talented. You can say gifted. Gifted. An example, Ron is a uniquely gifted singer. His voice adds magic to the lyrics. Gifted. Do you know someone who is uniquely gifted with some talent? Let me know in the comments. Moving on, we have very worried. It can be replaced with depressed. Pretty simple, huh? Depressed. Ria is depressed about her speaking test. She needs to score a band 8 to get into a top university in the UK. Let's quickly revise what we've learned. Very quick. Rapid. Very perfect. Flawless. Very shy. Timid. Very thirsty. Parched. Very hurt. Battered. Very open. Transparent. Very powerful. Compelling. Very shiny. Gleaming. Very talented. Gifted. Very worried. Depressed. Hello and welcome to the part 3 of this 5-lesson series. Let's get started. The first one is very sure. Very sure. We say this quite often when you are positive about something. You can replace it with one word. That's certain. Certain. I am certain. Doesn't it sound more positive? Certain. I am certain. There's something cooking between Nisha and Ryan. Certain. In this sentence, the phrase something cooking means secretly having an affair. It's a slang phrase to say there's something going on between them. You too can practice with me as you watch this lesson. As I give you an example sentence, why don't you pause the video and write a sentence in the comments using the new word? It would help you remember these new words faster. Come on, start posting your sentences in the comments. I would love to read them. Next up is very clear. You can say it's obvious. Obvious. The pronunciation is obvious. Say it with me. Obvious. Obvious. The effect of this pandemic on the economy is now obvious. Many companies are finding it difficult to survive. I hope you are all safe and taking good care as we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic has made many people very busy. Very busy. Another common word. You can replace it with swamped. I am swamped. When you are very busy, you are swamped. Isn't it a better word to use instead of saying very busy? Do you think working from home is fun? I am swamped the whole day with video calls and emails. Swamped. Next one at number 4 is very special. Very special. You can replace it with exceptional. Exceptional. Her capability to remember math formulas is exceptional. Do you know someone who has exceptional skills to remember things? Let me know in the comments. Exceptional. The next basic word you could replace from our vocabulary is very smooth. You can say, it's sleek. Sleek. Something that's very smooth can be called sleek. Sleek. Although it's my grandfather's scooter, it's still pretty sleek to ride. At number 6, we have very lazy. You can say indolent. Indolent. One more time. Indolent. Well, I am not an indolent person. Just sometimes, over the weekends, I become indolent. What about you? Let me know in the comments. Indolent. Television and video games have bred a generation of indolent teens. In this sentence, the word bred means has grown or developed many people to be indolent. Indolent. Next up is another super common word. Very sorry. I'm sure you use it quite often. But now you can say apologetic. Apologetic. The pronunciation is apologetic. Apologetic. Say it with me. Apologetic. You lay stress on the middle part. Jetic. Apologetic. For example, he was deeply apologetic about his late arrival at the meeting. Apologetic. This is something I dislike the most. I can't stand people who are late. Certainly, they need to be apologetic. The next one is me, a very happy person. You can call me ecstatic. 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 One more time. Ecstatic. She was absolutely ecstatic when I told her the news. Here's one more basic word. Very mean. Very mean. Someone who is hurtful or unkind is a mean person. You can call them cruel. Cruel. The pronunciation is cruel. It's a one-syllable word. Cruel. You don't say cruel. It's cruel. Don't tease him about his weight. It's cruel. And the last word for the day is very colourful. You can say vibrant. Vibrant. Whenever I hear this word, I always think of a rainbow. It's always vibrant. If you ask me, I love the festival of Holi. It's so vibrant. I am sure learning these new English words would certainly make your English speaking vibrant. Come on, let's quickly revise what we learnt. Very sure, certain. Very clear, obvious. Very busy, swamped. I am swamped. Very special, exceptional. Very smooth, sleek. Very lazy, indolent. Very sorry, apologetic. Very happy, that's me, ecstatic. Very mean, cruel. Very colourful, vibrant. Part 4 of this 5-lesson series. Let me share something about me. I like things very neat and tidy. Very neat. That's our first word. Instead, you could say immaculate. Immaculate. One more time. Immaculate. Don't you think it's a better word in place of very neat? With everyone's help, we were able to pick up all the trash and make the park immaculate. Immaculate. Now it's your turn to write a sentence in the comments below. It would help you remember these new English words faster. Come on, you can pause the video for a few seconds. I would love to read your sentences. After working all day in the park, I am exhausted and feel very sleepy. Very sleepy. You could say, I feel lethargic. When you are exhausted, you feel lethargic. 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 Working for straight 10 hours made me feel lethargic. Lethargic. Next up, I have very tasty. Very tasty. You could say appetizing. Appetising.
I am a total foodie. I always crave for something appetising.
What about you? Are you a foodie too? Let me know in the comments. I would do anything for this appetising meal. Appetising. At number 4, we have very risky. Very risky. You could replace it with perilous. Perilous. The pronunciation is perilous. Perilous. Something that's full of danger is perilous. She promised to climb up the perilous peak along with us the next day, but she backed out at the last moment. Perilous. Next up is very creative. Very creative. How can you replace this basic English word? Start saying innovative. Innovative. Someone who always comes up with new ideas or creativity is innovative. Doesn't this word sound better? Innovative. Elon Musk is notably well known in the tech world for his innovative business ideas. The driverless Tesla car is one good example of his great innovations. Talking about cars, I like cars that are roomy, very roomy. I like cars that are spacious. One more time. Spacious. Why don't you add a few $1,000s and buy a premium hatchback? It's spacious and has better head and leg room. Spacious. What kind of car do you like? A sedan, hatchback, or an SUV? Let me know in the comments. The next basic word on the list is very detailed. You can say instead meticulous. Meticulous. The pronunciation is meticulous. It's a 4-syllable word. And you can lay stress on the ticulous. Meticulous. Wow! I love your house. The interiors are meticulous. Every corner has something to say. That was meticulous. Moving on. 8th on the list is very crowded. You can say, it's bustling. It's bustling. You can call a busy city with lots of energy bustling. A city like Mumbai, New York, London, they are all quite busy and bustling. I never thought a bustling city like Mumbai would ever come to a halt. But the pandemic proved me wrong. Bustling. Next up is very scared. We can replace it with a more advanced English word. Petrified. 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 The idea of making a speech in public. petrified him. But 15 minutes into the speech, he was quite comfortable. This generally happens to the best of public speakers. It's just the initial nervousness. I used to feel the same, but not anymore. Petrified. Here's the next one. Very different. Instead, I would say disparate. 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 One more time. Disparate. Ryan and Ava are two disparate people. I'm surprised to hear they got married last month. Disparate. When two things are extreme and have no match for each other, you can call them disparate. Similarly, spoken and written English is disparate. These are two different skills, and you need to practice them separately. You may know all the grammar rules, but that does not guarantee speaking fluently in English. I'm sure learning these new English words would certainly make your spoken English vibrant. Come on, let's quickly revise what we learned. Very neat. Immaculate. Very sleepy. Lethargic. Very tasty. Appetising. Very risky. Perilous. Very creative. Innovative. Very roomy. Spacious. Very detailed. Meticulous. Very crowded. Bustling. Very different. Disparate. Very scared. Petrified. Welcome back to the fifth and the final part of this English lesson series. Sounds exciting? I am sure it sounds exciting. And that's our first word of the day. Very exciting. Very exciting. I have a better word instead. You could say it's exhilarating. Exhilarating. The pronunciation is exhilarating. Seems like a long word. It is a 5-syllable word, and you have to lay stress on exhilarating. Exhilarating. Say it with me. Exhilarating. Exhilarating. Excellent. My first skydiving was an exhilarating experience. Of course, when you jump from 21,000 feet above the ground, it cannot just be exciting. It has to be an exhilarating experience. Exhilarating. Now it's your turn. I want you to practice making sentences with me and write them in the comments. It helps you remember new words. You can pause the video for a few seconds, post your comment, and proceed. I would love to read your sentences. Next up on the list is very competitive. A better word to replace it would be cutthroat. Cutthroat. It's mostly used in business communication. When you compete intensely, that involves using extreme measures, because you have to win, it can be called a cutthroat situation. It's like a do or die situation. The smartphone market is quite cutthroat. Every new launch is packed with dozens of new features at a much affordable price. Great for consumers, huh? Now that brings us to the next word. Very cheap. Very cheap. Instead, you can say stingy. Stingy. Here, we're not referring to the cost of something, but using stingy as an adjective. It means someone who is unwilling to spend money, or is not so generous. He's really stingy and thinks twice before buying a bottle of wine. Why do we have to invite him for dinner? Stingy. Do you know someone who's stingy? Let me know in the comments. Next up, we have very thin. We can replace it with gaunt. It's simple to pronounce, gaunt. It's used especially for someone who looks thin because of sickness, hunger, or they are worried. So be careful when using it. He looked gaunt and exhausted when I visited him at the hospital. Gaunt. Next, at number 5, we have very upset. We use this quite often, don't we? But now on, instead, you could say distraught. 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 She's still too distraught to talk about her divorce. Distraught. Up next is very loved. Very loved. That's another common word and can be replaced with adored. Adored. It's a nice word, adored. When you love and respect someone deeply, you adore them. Adored is the past participle of the verb adore. He's a great doctor. All his patients adore him a lot. Adore. I hope you adore our lessons. If you adore them, why don't you hit the like button? Your appreciation means a lot to us. When something does not smell good, what do you say? Very smelly. Replace it with pungent. 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 Something like a strong smell, like the pungent smell of frying onions. That's pungent. You could also use it to describe a sharp criticism or comment. Since my brother never cleans his closet, there is a pungent smell coming from that area of his room. Pungent. Next up, very silent. It can be replaced with an interesting word, tranquil. Tranquil. The pronunciation is tranquil. The stress is on the first part of the word, tranquil. The bustling cities lay tranquil during the lockdown. Tranquil. Here's the next one. Very cute. Instead, you could say fetching. Fetching. It's so fetching to see the baby crawl. Go grab the camera. I want to film it. Fetching. I'm sure that's a new word for you. Use it in your conversations when you find something cute. Fetching. Next, we have very empty. You can say desolate. 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 Some place that's not attractive, isolated with no people, is a desolate place. You can also use it to describe a feeling of loneliness or sadness. Desolate. After the fire, the neighbourhood burnt to a desolate waste. She felt desolate when her best friend moved away to another country. Well, with Let's Talk, you will never feel desolate in your English learning journey. We have more than 2,000 English lessons for you to get fluent in spoken English. Let's revise quickly what we've learned today. Very competitive, cutthroat. Very exciting, exhilarating. Very cheap, stingy. Very thin, gaunt. Very upset, distraught. Very loved, adored. Very smelly, pungent. Very quiet, tranquil. Very cute, fetching. Very empty, desolate. That concludes the 5-part lesson series. You have learnt 50 new and advanced English words to use instead of very. Try making sentences using these words. It would help you remember them faster. Don't be a word bore. Use these new words in your everyday conversations. I hope you enjoyed all the lessons in this series. Let me know in the comments. Which ones are your favourite words from today's English lesson? I would love to know them. I will see you soon with one more amazing English lesson. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing English. Bye!